Hello and welcome to the final video in my 1.6 update series. This one will just be wrapping up the event as well as covering a few miscellaneous ideas that weren't quite enough to warrant their own video. So I have these all written down and we'll go through them one by one. The first thing I want to talk about is the story, now that I have finished the entirety of the event. I think the story was honestly oversold in the marketing. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed going through it. However, I think the end fell a little bit flat. I will be spoiling it, so if you don't want to hear, skip ahead in the video, and I should put a timestamp to where that is. To summarize it, the entire event was set up by Klee's mother Alice as sort of a, here is a summer gift for you, and it turned out that the mysterious force field in the middle was just hiding like some beach chairs and a gramophone with like a message from her mom that's like, "You're great, trust your friends." And that's fine, that's fine. While it was probably never going to be some cataclysmic evil, based on the teaser trailers at least, I had hoped it would be a little bit more threatening. As it turned out, there was no other immediate threat or conflict in the story, and it sort of just wraps itself up. The only real thing we learned is just, again, that Alice is a very powerful witch, and people are theorizing what role she might have to play in the story in the future, but as far as an introduction or a prologue goes, it's probably not the best ever in terms of the quests that Genshin's had. So that was a little bit of a letdown. The other aspects, I guess, of the story or lore is that we learn a little bit about Inazuma. Rather, we got some teases that we heard some sailors from Inazuma. We fought the Magu Kenki, the big automaton with the marionette strings. The side quests were fine. I was able to complete them all. I think I like the side quests a little more than the main quest, actually, in terms of actual like integration in the game, where they were tied to locations, mechanics, and the lore of the locations, where some, you were navigating with the fog, you were investigating different islands, and I thought that was a really good aspect of the side quests. But the main quest itself was just kind of okay. I hope that future quests build off this in a more substantial way. The gameplay aspects of this event, I think, are probably much like a lot of the event. It's both good and bad. The individual activities are not the best. The tennis wall or the little rings that you have to shoot things through, they're fine, but they're not great like some other event activities have been. We just had the Misty Dungeon the other day, and even before that, we've had, I think, better quest activities. I know the Tower Defense is still probably my favorite of all of the quest events that we've had so far. But I did like that they were integrated into the world, so that is a plus. There were things that I could do while exploring. The big standout, however, and really the outlier, is the Broken Isle puzzle, which I think was absolutely fantastic. You had to really explore the entirety of this island and find different clues to piece together the solution to these mysterious pillars you find, and you have to manage some pools of water to get them to the right height. And the entire thing is just phenomenally well put together, and it was a blast figuring out how to do that, which eventually I did, but it took me quite a long time. In fact, I think that is the footage in the background of this video, but that should cover the gameplay. Some final thoughts on the event itself is that I hope we can continue to have events of this quality, even if not necessarily this style. What I mean by that is that it's great in some ways, but maybe underdone in others. I am curious if this event location will be able to be reused in some way next year. Certainly, returning players wouldn't want to do the same thing over again. And I think this will be more relevant as we approach the 1-year anniversary of Genshin, but for the story quests and events, certainly, you can't really redo them because it's a very live, evolving world. And they're going to have to come up with some sort of way to reuse the events while advancing the story and not just retreading it over and over. I think that if one feature is carried over, and I suspect it might be, is that characters should be present in the world at all times. Basically, everyone should be available somewhere to go up and talk to about different things. I covered this in my last video, but just sort of to remind about that. I will say that, yes, basically it is confirmed that we are getting a boat in Inazuma, as the repair kit does not expire while the bombs that you craft do expire. So I just felt that I should mention that. My final thoughts, as I said, they're great in some ways and underdone in others. I think the good from this event is the setting. I really like the island, and I really, really like that we're getting a new place to explore, even if it is temporary. And I think that the characters were really well done. It was phenomenal getting to explore with them and to take them along and meet new characters throughout the quest as it continued to unfold. And I think that much like the Windbloom Festival, it really is the standard that I think events should be held to. You know, people like to trash on the Lantern Rite, which, you know, if you believe that it was made in beta, I seriously doubt that next year's will be quite so bad. But speaking of bad, I think that the character interaction with other characters was not quite as great as Windbloom. You had about 6 or 7 characters present, but they didn't do a whole lot with each other, and they didn't really do a whole lot with you. We saw Jean, Kaya, Diluc, Razor, and Albedo, and they had things to say about the quest, but they didn't really play much part beyond their introduction and just kind of being there. Really, it was about Klee almost exclusively, and everyone else was just kind of there to be like, yeah, Klee. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the story, I think, wasn't the greatest. It started off quite strong. We didn't really know what it would be about, and I certainly had my own theories, but it turned out it was just a big, summer gift. So I had hoped that it would be a little bit more than just a teaser for stuff we kind of already knew. So, yeah, I think it's quite a highly well-done event, but I don't think it's quite the best they've done overall. I hope that they learn a lot from this event, and certainly I'll be putting my thoughts in the survey that we inevitably get. I continue to look forward to Inazuma, and I think this is a very nice holdover until we get there. So stay tuned for more videos in the future. Thank you.